Hello everyone and welcome to my new series of rising signs, starting with Aries rising. So let's explore Aries rising in depth: personality, health, well-being, career and relationships. In addition, I will be exploring DASHA planets for Aries rising, and finally Mars, ruling planet in all houses. So, Aries rising is a very special position in some ways. This is because all of the signs are in their natural houses. In fact, Aries is a new beginning in your incarnation cycle. Not only that, Aries, like Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, is a cardinal axis horoscope. What does this mean? It's actually quite important karmically. It actually gives you a fair amount of freedom. None of us are completely free. There's a whole debate about free will determinism here, but you have all the normal karmic obstacles everybody has. All of our life is very predetermined, we know that. But the particular obstacles which you have as a cardinal sign are more easily overcome than the fixed and the mutable sign. So that's a very good benefit for you. So, what's your personality like? You are very active, very impulsive, headstrong. You hate any sort of restriction. You are determined, freedom loving, courageous. You love to move ahead in a new sphere all the time. You are completely aspirational, focused 100% on your goals. Nothing can stop you once you put your mind to something. However, you can be a little bit too impulsive, and your most difficult trait is your impatience. This is the thing that will hold you back. You have to try to restrain it because it could even make you lose such valuable opportunities. If you have this Lagna in 0 to 3 degrees or so, it's an exceptionally strong Lagna in the Vedic system, exceptionally strong. So you have many dynamic Martian qualities. You're like a warrior in the world, not afraid, always confronting, always ready to move on, always helping the underdog as well, always there to do the good in the world because of your courage. It's a marvelous rising sign. As far as your health is concerned, you tend to get niggling health problems that are really coming from this Virgo sign. And your vulnerable areas are about food intake and digestion. So be very careful how you eat. Eating on the move is never good for you, although you're very tempted by that. Be really careful about food allergies and all sorts of unsuspected allergies like that, okay? And also, you are very attracted to meditation, yoga, and all of these interesting things, okay, because of your Jupiter ninth house. But you find it hard to relax long enough and to say, to stay still long enough to really get into these things. But they are the things, meditation, relaxation, that will really help your health with this Virgo sixth house. So now the wealth indicators for you. Second house Taurus, fixed sign. Eighth house Scorpio. 11th house Aquarius, all fixed. Really demanding a slow acquisition of wealth over your lifetime that is normally found for Aries rising. However, Taurus is very favorable. Taurus gives you inner self-esteem from a very early age. You believe in yourself. That's always the most important thing for gaining wealth. You believe that you can do it. And you may have a lot of help from your early environment and your early childhood relatives also. Eighth house Scorpio is actually favorable for business partnerships. You do very well in self-employment. Very well, okay, because you know how to work independently. You've just got to find the right partner if you need that, or work alone, sole trader. Either way, you have a great business sense, a very dynamic and enterprising sense. This house, however, is a bit tricky for you. So when you go into a career that you are not self-employed, it's a slow march up for you to the higher wages and higher assets, and you can become impatient with that. As I said, it's a Saturnine house. And also, if you tend to swap career a lot, which you may do, and jump from job to job, then you may find that you're going backwards in your assets and not forward. So, Capricorn in your 10th house of career is interesting here. Capricorn is a cardinal sign, obviously, like yourself, and very focused, but in a slow way. Capricorn in the Western system is a goat, slowly going up that mountain, very surely from ridge to ridge, very delicate and sure footed. And that is not really who you are. You're the ram. You're butting your head in there. You're forcing your way forward. You're not a mountain goat. But that is the sort of attitude which you have to take in your career. And it can be challenging because Saturn is challenging for you. So your downfall is always where you push ahead blindly, and then if you don't get anywhere, you move on to a new career and another one and another one. And you can have multiple careers, but you have to stay focused and be more patient. However, when you do find your real place, if you like, okay, the career which is meant for you, and I'm not going to go into like a suitable career here because I would need to look at where the ruler has gone here, where Saturn has gone. But here's the main thing. In the Vedic system, this is a crocodile. And so when you do find your career and you do find where you belong, you gobble everybody up in your way. Nobody is allowed to be in your path. You just get in there and gobble them up and move on to the next stage. So when you are focused and you are in the right career, nothing can stop you reaching that top rung. Absolutely nothing. So, relationships, 7th house issues where Libra is. Relationships are very important for Aries Lagna, strangely enough. Even though you are so dynamic and focused, this warrior out there, you need your special partner. You need it very, very much if you think about it. You are very focused on finding that mate too, and you put all your energy and focus and dynamic fiery nature into your relationships. But here's the thing, the minus is that you become too impulsive. Be very careful to get to know somebody, or you might find that you are not with the person who is ideal for you. So just take a little bit of time, Aries, and it normally works out well. See where Venus has gone. Very important to get additional information and the D9 chart. But here's the thing also. You often attract to you a very good looking and very rational mate. Someone who is slightly detached even from their emotions and is a very good counterbalance for yourself. So it's often fortunate for you, and more than often you need a relationship. You really do. So Mars, Sun, Moon and Jupiter are your favorable Mahadashas. These are the times when you move ahead in life constructively and things flow for you. But there are some differences between them and very important things to understand. Mars, as your ruling planet, also rules your 8th house of sudden events. So it's a very hot and quick and powerful dasha when you move ahead and find your place in the sun. You find your goal, your purpose in life, and all obstacles are overcome. But there will be obstacles because of the 8th house. There will be sudden events, unexpected events, but nonetheless, normally you will overcome these obstacles. Sun is your 5th house ruler, so therefore children often come into your life. A very favorable time to have a new family. Also a very favorable time for the superiors who you work for, and you often climb up that ladder. You are also very much favored in your education. So these are malefics normally, but for you they become benefics. Now the moon is a very favorable dasha. I'd say of all of them, personally I would say this is your most favored dasha. It's a very sweet dasha. It's your fourth house. It's your house of happiness. It's your house of home life, belonging, contentment, all the sweetness and the joy of your family life. It's a beautiful Mahadasha when lots of people, new people, come into your life and even into your home. There may be foreign travel also because the moon is a traveler, but the most important thing is that inside you feel real contentment and belonging. Jupiter Mahadasha, 9th house, 12th house Lord, absolutely foreign travel and religious endeavors, absolutely too. A real philosophical feel here because you are a philosophical person, Aries. I haven't spoken about that, but you have a deep love of philosophy. So Jupiter will expand this in a mega way, and you may go to live abroad also with that 12th house aspect. You will certainly be really into meditation, yoga, all sorts of new sort of dynamic ways to improve your health, improve your mental health, and to gain spiritual wisdom. It's a fantastic time also for your higher education also, but most of all it opens up your life and brings new areas, new endeavors, new people, everything which is expansive and joyful. It's a wonderful Mahadasha. Now, the more troublesome Mahadashas are Mercury, Venus, and Saturn. Let's explain. Mercury is your third house and your sixth house ruler. These are troublesome houses. Sibling issues, work issues, health issues, so many niggling things that you find annoying and really slow you down. You can actually come a bit off the rails here, Aries, so be very, very careful that you stay focused on your goal. Again, have a look at where Mercury is by house and sign placement. But on the whole, though, it's a difficult time for you because you lack that focus. There are so many other things that you have to take care of that you've no time for yourself, and you can't force yourself through in the way you normally do to go on with your goals. So it's a tricky, difficult time for you. Venus Mahadasha Maraka, because the 7th house and the 2nd house is Maraka. It can be dangerous for you, but at the same time it's your 7th house spouse ruler, so therefore everybody's 7th house is always Maraka. So many people get married in their 7th house Lord Mahadasha. That's why it's Maraka, because you lose yourself in your relationship. Okay, so it may be a very romantic time for you in which you have multiple relationships or you find your spouse, but it's still a tricky time when you find it hard to move ahead with your issues and your concerns, and your forward movement in life is a bit halted, and that's why it's a very tricky time. As far as a marker is concerned, you must always look in all the other D charts and see what's going on. You can't make any decision simply from the Mahadasha Lord. Saturn, very important Mahadasha for you. You can make enormous progress, but it's hard, very hard going. It's your 10th house Lord and your 11th house Lord. That golden word patience, Aries, is going to be the key. Not your easiest quality, we've just discussed it, but nonetheless, if you can try for that. Saturn always wants us to be patient, always wants us to be kind, take our time. So if you can try to find those qualities within yourself, Aries, then it will get far better for you. It's a long Mahadasha. The beginning is often harsh. Again, it depends where Saturn is. You need to know what degree Saturn is in. Early degree, the worst is at the beginning. Like a later degree, maybe 25 degrees onwards, the most harsh time is at the end. But it's harsh only because it slows you down and you feel tripped up all the time, but if you are very careful and can just contain yourself, it can be success in your career. You absolutely have to see where Saturn is. If he's in a very strong sign and very strong house, it isn't going to stop it being a hard time for you, but you will ultimately gain success. So it's all about having a look at the placement of Saturn. Now let's move on to have a look at Mars, your ruling planet in all houses. Oh, how dynamic can it get? Mars, Aries, first house. Very successful, very purposeful, very energetic, and very driven. There's so many positives here to Mars in his own sign. The real warrior in life. Not afraid of any confrontation whatsoever. Not afraid, never going to back down, always going to move forward. However, you need to watch for some other malefics. Mars is still a malefic even in his own sign. Are there any other malefics in the other Kendra houses like Saturn, Sun, Rahu, Ketu? Because if there are, and there's many of them, it can put a stop on your Mars and make your whole life an absolute battleground from which you will have many scars. So be careful about that. Because if you do have other malefics, you have to contain the energy. But nonetheless, even if there are other malefics here, your Mars is supremely favorable when you are contained and focused, and you can contain anger. One of the biggest things about Mars rising is that trigger anger, where you just blow up, and you so quickly blow down again. That's very, very true. But you just blow up out of all proportion to what's going on. You have to be very careful with that negative side of Mars. Also, is Mars above the horizon or below? If he's more towards the 12th house side of your Lagna, then it's a new set of incarnation experiences, and you are a bit raw with this Mars energy, a bit raw with it. It's not natural to you. It's all to do with forcing yourself to be more enterprising and more outward and more extrovert in this lifetime. That's your karma. If Mars is more towards the second house side of your first house, then this is absolutely coming from your past life karma. It's something that is within you that you have had for many lifetimes expressing itself again. And that means you've got to watch for those negative tendencies in particular. So Mars in the second house of Taurus, early environment and wealth. Mars is a bit contained here. Early on in life, it can be very tricky. There may be a lack of nourishment, a lack of emotional security, a feeling of things always being on edge in your early family environment. In fact, in your family life later on, there's a lot of contention. But you are so dynamic in terms of your possessions. You gain enormous wealth and enormous resources as you go on through life. You're quite possessive as well of these things, okay, which you own, but you're absolutely enabled to increase your material wealth in this house. You're very focused also on your looks and your body and your fitness and on being young looking in a way, because Mars here in Taurus is all about beauty and looks. Very interesting Mars placement. So Mars as your ruler in the third house, dynamic sibling issues for sure. It can be favorable. It just depends on the other grahas involved here. Mars as a whole, though, here is very active. You are a supremely active person. You never sit still. You're always on the move. You're always doing something new, moving somewhere new, on the go, trying new hobbies, new ideas, having new enterprises. Very, very good for all communications, writing, speaking, and the internet. Excellently starred, and there may be many talents there. You are a little bit contentious, though, particularly sibling matters, and maybe some issues there. But on the whole, it's a favourable thing, okay, because Gemini and Mars, there can often be twins involved as well with this Mars placement. Main thing is that you are always on the go, and it's hard to settle in your life, and finding that security and settled energy may be a little bit hard for you. So Mars has gone into a cardinal house from your first house ruler in Aries. It's very dynamic. In Cancer, however, it gives you an intense feeling of belonging in your homeland, almost of a Martian quality where you become, I don't want to use the word xenophobic, but you actually become a bit, like a bit of a defender of your homeland against invaders, as it were. You're very Martian in regard to your home. And also to your mother, a very intense relationship with your mother. Very intense, but it may be contentious. Also, as well as being very emotional, it can also be a lot of quarrels there with your mother. Okay, but most importantly, you are very attached to your homeland, which can lead you into politics and into the public arena with this intensity. Mars as your Aries ruler in the fifth house is favorable. It's a trine house. It gives you enormous success in your education. You move ahead with it swiftly and you can easily get onto very high realms of education. But you have to be patient again. Mars can push ahead and not be willing to take that time to get those best marks, as it were, but still you move ahead regardless. In regard to your children, it's very good. Often you have male children, and there may be one or two conflicts there without doubt, because Mars is a conflicting planet here, but you are enormously creative, and you may be very much focused on those sorts of paths in life, like acting, creativity, novel writing, films, and so on, okay, because you are so creative and dynamic. Mars is in Leo, though, and Leo is the sign of the showman. You're a bit of a show off sometimes. You like to be at the forefront of everything. You hate to be left behind. You're a leader, an absolute leader, and a creative leader with many creative ideas. You will be very popular also very often. It's an absolutely dynamic placement. Mars as your ruler in the sixth house. Now, Mars in a sixth house as a malefic planet can often be successful because he contains all of those health issues and enemy issues, and you often win over your enemies in the end, and you often win over the health concerns in the end. But Virgo is a tricky place for Mars, and so there will be many office politics issues, many little niggling health issues coming up and up all the time that you have to deal with. But you're a positive person in healing other people. Very favorable for health work, for nurses, for doctors. Any sort of clinical work is very much favored here. So stay on the positive side of things here with this Mars. And you need to focus your energy on helping other people, and you will become very much appreciated. So Mars as your ruler has gone into the seventh house, the opposite sign, into Libra. It's got a favorable side, but let's just get to the tricky side first. Mars in the seventh house can be difficult for your relationship. I'm not talking about the Mongol dosha, which I didn't even mention with Mars rising here. What's the most important factor here? There tends to be challenges in your relationship because you are so focused on them. You make your relationships the focus of your life, and you put so much energy into them that you forget about your own issues and then you blame your partner. That's what tends to happen. You are putting so much emphasis on relationships that you feel that you have been ignored by your partner when you are ignoring yourself. It's about finding a balance. You need to find a balance that relationships are not the total focus of your life. Here's the other side of things outside of personal relationships. In any partnership, in any business partnership, there can be real issues here, okay? Because Libra is a sign that tends to want to compromise. Mars does not want to compromise. There's a lot of tension in your business relationships. You have to be very careful that you are very open and very honest and not get into niggling disputes. Okay, Mars in this house can give a lot of disputes with other people. It can be very good for work in law, though, for work in any area which is Libra, led, like the law. Okay, where you can have a very, very dynamic lawyer, with this Mars. That's the best area to go into because you are putting the energy into, the open arena in the law courts, for example. Okay, so very open, very purposeful, but sometimes when you're dealing with these one-to-one relationships, one-to-one partnerships, one-to-one in anything, you get a bit stuck and you tend to be either overcompensating or over compromising. So you have to find a very clear balance there. So Mars as your ruler in the 8th house ruling Aries in Scorpio is so dynamic. You have such power, such focus, such energy. It's incredible, really, because it's a real double Mars energy here. The issue is it's in the 8th house, but Mars often does well there. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to have enormous focus in your life, enormous determination. Often there can be all sorts of traumatic events sometimes in your life, all depends on the other grahas involved, and upsetting things, but you just keep on going. You are able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep on going. You are very focused on your own goals, though, and that's the negative side, that you tend to forget about all the other people in your life. Sometimes you're so focused. You are very much into doing things your way and sometimes secretive. That's because the 8th house is about undercover, secretive work. Of course, you can make it work for you and work in those lines of work like detective work, spies, research. All of those areas are very, very good for you. But you do enjoy that sense of keeping things under wraps a little bit, and that might affect your relationship also in some way. You have to be careful there. Not that you're doing anything underhand or wrong, but you feel a need to keep a little bit of power. It's a power placement more than anything. You like to feel in control, and that feeling of being the boss, of being the one who's running things, is very important to you. But you have such a dynamic energy that there is nothing which you can't do. Once you set your mind to it, you are capable of doing that for sure. But your life is marred, though, by sudden changes, sudden events that move you into different spheres. As I say, it isn't an easy placement on the one level, but on another level, it gives you such energy with this Scorpio here, such absolute power that you can rise to the top of any career, anything. You can do it in the end, okay? Because you have this level of self-belief and self-will. So Mars, as a ruler of Aries in the 9th house in Sagittarius, is a very strong and favourable placement. Mars in a fire sign like the rising sign is very well placed. The 9th house is the most fortunate house, although it does also relate to past karmas here. You need to see where Jupiter has gone, very important. You have a dynamic relationship with your father. It's often favourable. It often takes you to foreign lands. You are absolutely an explorer on every level, and you explore philosophy, religion, gurus. You enjoy arguing about philosophy. You love to get into it in a very dynamic, real application to life way, a practical person where you take the knowledge and you put it into everyday use. But you're a traveler, absolutely, and you love to feel free and on the move. It's hard to pin you down, actually, with this Mars, hard to keep you in the one place. You may go to live abroad, or you may just involve foreign culture or foreign religions into your life in a very big way. But you love philosophy, you're intensely interested in the higher, laws of life, and you want to bring them into your life and make them work for you. Also, a very talented person, as a journalist, a writer, anything creative involving the internet also. But the foreign element is the strongest and most favorable impact here. So, wow, this is a very successful placement for your ruling planet Mars. Mars in Capricorn in the 10th house is a high climber, a very successful business person, career, whatever it is. If you're working for the government, any big corporation, or working for yourself, or working in a partnership, your energy, your dynamism, your complete focus in getting ahead in life is going to make you very, very successful. You will climb the ladder bit by bit. You will leave no stone unturned. You are not afraid to confront anybody who is in your way. You are very methodical in what you do, and you are very systems orientated. So you work well. The only minor issue is if you are too aggressive, if you are too pushy sometimes. But Capricorn will probably hold that in its hands, because Capricorn knows how to work any system. So it's very, very successful. Mars here will push you to the very top, the very pinnacle of whatever you want to do. You are very focused, and you are very concerned to do the best that you can do, to be the best in your field. Okay? And again, anything which is corporate, anything which involves a climb, even if it's not in the business world, it was in the medical field, because Mars often indicates a medical career, like a doctor and so on. It's very important that you climb, that you get to the top. That is what you want to do, or at least to be where you feel in control. Mars always wants to feel like you've got freedom in your career. It's very important that you've got freedom of thought and freedom of movement. One thing is, avoid conflicts in your day-to-day working life. There can be an element of you being very, seen as being very selfish and very, sort of pushy in that area of your life. But on the whole, as your ruling planet, it's supremely successful. What a successful place to have Mars. 11th house Mars, Aquarius. The only thing is, it's a Saturn sign, and the Aquarius holds you in that karmic grip for a short amount of time. But Mars in the 11th house, as the ruler of your Lagna, cannot deny you success. There will be some obstacles though, because Aquarius Saturn energy is karmic, and particularly in larger groups or political circles, you may have some enemies and some contention. So be very careful not to be too argumentative. But you are a politician at heart. You like politics in some way, in some form. You are very attracted to belonging in a larger group than yourself and working within it. You like to feel you belong, and yet you are a leader, an absolute leader. But as far as your income is concerned, it's supremely successful. No holes barred. You will increase your assets year on, year out, and you will be very successful in that sphere. So Mars, ruler of Aries, into your 12th house. It's a very specific position. Yes, it has some challenges to it, but there is a golden side too. Mars is a bit troubled in the 12th house because he can't act out directly in the world, but there is a sphere of very good influence here. Mars, though, can give a feeling of loss or actual loss in your early life. There can be some sicknesses. There can be a move away to foreign lands, which is isolating for you. There can be a feeling of aloneness and isolation, very often due to, a myriad of circumstances. Most of all, Mars is a spiritual warrior here. Mars is always Mars is always a warrior, and in this house it becomes spiritual. You are here to find and explore and actually put into action deep spiritual principles, and therefore you will seek them out all of your life. And you may in fact move to a foreign land of your own accord to pursue these interests. That is also very often shown. Here you are supposed to put your energy, your dynamic Mars energy, into helping other people who are suffering. And not just other people, Mars also, in a very empathetic sign like Pisces, wants to help all living beings. So non-human animals are very much your concern as well. And you may even become vegetarian. Now, Mars in this house can often disturb your sleep a little bit and disturb your meditation, even though you want to meditate. So it can be a bit hard to focus on your spiritual interests sometimes, but you are going to be drawn to them again and again. And particularly Mars Mahadasha will really focus you into this. So it's a spiritual path for you in this lifetime, a dynamic path of helping other people. It can seem as though you're never recognized, and this can bother you, but you have to go along with this particular path. It is your karma, but it will always, in the end, satisfy you. And where you are giving of yourself, the more you give, the more you will eventually be getting. Even if you don't seem to be very much in this life, that is your reward. And Mars, of course, really wants to focus you on this feeling of detachment from the material realm. Okay, because it is a Mosca house, and therefore, ultimately, why you are here is to finish up some outstanding karmas, and that's the most important thing, that you do that unselfishly. Okay, well, I so much hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you have, sub to my channel, starting out again on YouTube. Coming up next will be Taurus Rising. Goodbye for now, and God bless everybody.